Hi everyone. So I'm going to have a look at the US dollar index against the major currencies, and this is for Monday the 27th of January 2020. So now just having a look at the US dollar index here, I can see it has managed to push through some local resistance, pushing up. That uptrend on the daily looking pretty strong. We're still technically in a downtrend on the weekly. Okay, so not really out of the woods yet. And as I spoke before about that subtle shift from bullish to bearish on the weekly, we haven't at all necessarily changed my mind on that. So my expectation was to see something on that last week. However, I'm going to hold over on that, follow that through until this week. Now, jumping over to the euro against US dollar, this is definitely weak. Absolutely, in fact, some strong resistance. And it looks as though it's very close to breaking this uptrend on the weekly, and also continuing the downtrend on the monthly. So there's a lot that shows, there's a lot of evidence here to support the idea of a stronger US dollar, weaker euro. Looking at cable, slightly different. We've got an uptrend on the daily. We still have an uptrend on the weekly. We've produced this bullish candle in the buy zone. We're struggling a bit with resistance, but this is certainly trying to hold its position against the US dollar, still trying to maintain a bullishness. Then moving across Australian dollar against US dollar, also looking quite weak, very similar to the euro dollar in terms of the monthly, the daily as well. The weekly is still in an uptrend. We haven't broken the previous lows, but it's not looking strong. Okay, so that's supporting a strong US dollar. Then on Kiwi against US dollar, similar scenario. Still got a very nice uptrend. Over here, we are producing a bearish candle. This is not looking as weak as the Australian dollar, relatively speaking, but it is still showing some potential here for a weaker Kiwi versus a stronger US dollar. Then looking at dollar yen, we've broken back down through resistance. We haven't really got a clear trend yet on that weekly because of that breakout of resistance there, and not really got a clear trend on the monthly. It's still producing lower highs and lower lows, and generally it's going to kind of do what it wants to do. It does tend to buck the trend. It's still within a larger monthly range, so I kind of exclude that from it because it does kind of tends to do its own thing. Then having a look at dollar Swissy, still producing lower highs and lower lows on that weekly, and still in a downtrend technically on the monthly, and not giving a lot of clarity. Produced a bearish candle. We haven't broken above the high of it yet on the daily. That was actually a really nice retest of resistance and a nice bearish candle, and then a follow through and a reverse on that. So that was a technically valid setup, and we've kind of potentially changed on that. That might become then a losing trade. On that note, actually, I was highlighting some of the trades I was looking at. I'll quickly just digress to this. Euro Swissy did follow through. It was a very large candle, though. It did follow through on that, so I didn't take that trade precisely because the candle was just too big. But the momentum was really there. Pound Swissy, not much else happened there. And then, of course, just CAD Yen and Swissy Yen that were on my charts. CAD Yen did an outside candle, which is always a bit frustrating, and Swissy Yen hasn't actually necessarily negated yet. I'm still waiting for a nice bullish candle setup over here to go long on this, because in principle looks nice along there. Now, just to carry on, going back to dollar CAD. Dollar Swissy. So dollar CAD looks as though, although it is technically downtrends, lower highs, lower lows, also on the weekly, the daily has got an uptrend there. So this is showing more, again, kind of most of these here have indicated a stronger US dollar. So even though when I look at the dollar index, I can explain why my expectation is for it to be at a fork in the road and that it could still turn bearish. There are particular levels I'm looking for, but currently the market is showing a stronger US dollar. So hopefully that makes sense, because although my expectation, so I'm cautious basically. My expectation is there is a very real possibility the dollar could weaken over the next couple of days, because it's still at that fork in the road. So it hasn't crossed the line yet where I can say, okay, that's not an option anymore. At this point in time, it's still a very real possibility. And that weekly trend on that US dollar basket, still the dollar index, still looking like a very real possibility of the market, of it continuing to weaken. But other than that, not really seeing too many of these other than trading with a trend. If I was going to trade to the downside cautiously, especially on day trading, I'd be looking at euro dollar, or perhaps on Aussie dollar, or even dollar Swissy, perhaps just trading in line with that stronger dollar temporarily, with that keeping in mind that it can change direction. So I'll leave you with that for now. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.